This episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures was brought to you by the Adventure Armory. Rifle, scope, and ammo packages for hunters.
This week's episode's all about Travis Price. Now, Travis Price is a new hire for us here at Steve's Outdoor Adventures. He's been brought on as a professional hunting and fishing consultant, and his job is to book our clients on their dream hunting and fishing adventures. And a very critical part of his position here is being able to truthfully tell our clients exactly what it's like at each destination that we book for. And this week's episode is about a road trip that Travis takes to do a couple of hunts. First and foremost, he's going to drive down to northwest Colorado in early November. The mule deer rut's just coming on, and do a trophy mule deer hunt. And then he's going to drive from there down to Chama, New Mexico on a rifle elk hunt.
When I arrived in Colorado, I was shocked. I was told to expect snow in November, but really it was warm. 60 degrees or more every day and sunny, not the 20 degrees and a foot of snow I was hoping to see.
Good. You must be Casey. Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you finally. I made the rounds and visited the different operations where I am booking our clients. I want to be able to speak from firsthand experience about these outfitters and ranches, and this visit was very important. Since my hunt was to start the next day, I made it a priority to get to the rifle range and shoot my rifle. I didn't want to have an opportunity at a large Colorado mule deer buck and miss because I was too lazy to check my zero.
This week, Travis is hunting with a Bergara custom rifle, chambered 300 Winchester Magnum, and topped with the Burris Veracity rifle scope. The gun is sighted in, dead on at 200 yards, with the extra crosshairs to reach out to 600 yards. And it's a deadly accurate tack driver of a rifle that Travis is more than competent with.
The next morning, we were up early. Went to the lodge for breakfast, and then we headed out well before daylight. We had a 45-minute drive up to the ranch where we would be hunting. As I experienced my first Colorado sunrise and smelled the sagebrush in the crisp cold air, we tried to pick out the deer as they moved about in the dimly lit landscape. Joe took us out the first morning, a seasoned deer hunter and guide, and he knew where to start our hunt. And it didn't take long to start spotting deer.
So yeah, first thing this morning, saw 3 bucks and 4 or 5 does, and clear, crisp morning, and real excited to see some animals first thing and first light, and it's real good, real excited. In fact, I just see another deer that I don't think I saw before.
The open sagebrush terrain requires great optics, patience, and the willingness to glass, sometimes for hours.
This particular year, it was warm, it was dry, there was no snow to really start pushing deer and elk out of the high country, and that really had the rut off to a slow start.
As we drove between hunting areas, we were constantly spotting deer, so much so that it felt like a road hunt. But we were just incidentally seeing different bucks all day long. We would have to look harder.
Well, seen quite a few bucks today, and 2 or 3 that we wanted to get a closer look at, and some heavy bucks and 4x4s and some 4x3s, and really just looking it over and looking forward to putting a stock on one once we can find one we're looking for. So it's been a great day.
We came across our client Tina Gump and her guide. She had just shot a buck and needed some help recovering it.
It took me 6 times, but I did it.
It was special to share that moment with our client and spend some time with her before we moved on and continued our hunt. We glassed until sunset and saw several different bucks, just not the one I was looking for. So my hunt would continue. just an amazing day, and can't wait to get back out here tomorrow and see what a new day brings, and anticipation of putting on a stalk on a big mule deer is, you know, something that I really look forward to and can't wait till tomorrow.
This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Burris Optics. Find what matters. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Pendleton Ammunition. Loading bullets, one round at a time.
The next day we hunted with Casey, and we resumed our hunt in the same area. This time of year, with the rut coming on, there are new deer showing up every day, and it's just a matter of patience. We cruised to the various high points around the ranch, glassing the vast expanses of the sagebrush landscape. Mid-morning, we headed over to meet up with one of the other guides and his hunters, and we helped them recover a nice buck, before once again resuming my own hunt. Throughout the day, we continued to see a number of deer, but just not the one I was looking for. The next morning, we continued our routine. New bucks were showing up every day. Even with the absence of snow and cold weather, these deer know where to come for the rut. At this point, time is running short on my hunt. I'd only scheduled 3 days to hunt in Colorado before I had to head to New Mexico, the next stop on my road trip. And this was my last day. We're spending some time behind the glass and really looking for bucks that we haven't seen on the first 2 days. As we get deeper into the rut, more bucks seem to show up. Casey decided we would use the truck to cruise and cover a lot of country. The more area we could cover and glass, the more likely we were to spot a big buck. And all of a sudden, Casey spotted a buck he thought was a shooter. He had never seen him before. So he put the spotting scope on him and decided we should make a stalk and get a closer look. We had to cover about 500 yards of sagebrush to get into position to be able to take a shot. Once we were in position, I put up the shooting sticks and got set up. As I looked at the buck in the rifle scope, I knew he was what I was looking for, and I squeezed the trigger. There you go. My first Colorado mule deer buck. I was pumped up. Take a look at him. As I approached the deer, I knew he was unique, heavy and with character. So northwest Colorado here, vast, open, rolling sagebrush hills and canyons, and it's a tough hunt. There's, enough cover for these deer to hide, and, we saw different bucks each day. New bucks would show up and we would go to the next draw, the next ridge over, and see a deer that we didn't see the previous day, and even kind of glass back on some draws and canyons that we'd previously glassed, and all of a sudden we would notice that we missed a buck and have to put a glass on him. And so you really have to be patient on this hunt, and there's lots of property to cover, and there's lots of deer, so you got to be patient,
put a lot of glass on the deer, and you'll find the buck you're looking for, just like I did. So amazing hunt here in Northwest Colorado with Casey. Thank you so much again.
With my Colorado hunt and outfitter visits wrapped up, I jumped in the truck and headed to Chama, New Mexico, the next stop on my outfitter road trip. And with an elk tag in my pocket, I couldn't wait to get there.
This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Bergara Rifles, a passion for precision, every barrel, every rifle. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Marathon Seat Covers. We've got you covered.
I'd say Travis did very well to get the nice, big, heavy, mature buck that he did. But now, all of our attention is focused on Chama, New Mexico, and the road trip continues.
When I arrived at the lodge, I was surprised at how nice it was. The spacious rooms and a professional chef. I can see why this is a top destination for our clients. Now, I just need to experience the elk hunting the ranch is so well known for. I was paired up with my guide Lance, and the next morning, we headed out for my first morning hunt. We got up high on a knob and started glassing. And there were elk everywhere. Cows, calves, a spike. I knew it was just a matter of time.
It looks like there's 6 or 7 elk or so kind of feeding up this hill. It's quite a ways away. There's a bull in there, but he looks to be about a 4 or 5 point. So we're just gonna kind of hang tight and see what else is in here and keep glassing.
You know, every day that goes by, Travis is on this ranch and they're working hard to get these elk. But as the elk become more and more nocturnal, it's harder and harder to find the bigger bulls. It seems like you can always find a 5x5 to fill your tag with. But if your goal is to kill a 6x6, you've got to stay off the trigger, because you can't kill a 6x6 on the last night of your hunt if you fill your tag on a 5x5 on the first night of the hunt.
I had decided I would hold out for a 6-point bull. And on a ranch like this, hunters who hold out usually cut their tag on a big bull.
As we're walking through the bush, in certain areas where the elk have embedded, you can actually smell them. So you know that they've been close last couple nights. So really encouraging sign as we kind of make our way through, and we just spotted 4 cows on this knob, and so we're kind of still working our way along this ridge and see what else we can find.
It's mid-November. This is when there is usually a foot or more of snow on the ground, and the elk are migrating out of the high country. But instead it's warm and sunny, and there is no snow in the high country to force the elk to migrate. So we are hunting the resident elk that populate the ranch and surrounding area. Fresh sign and older sign both. There's definitely elk in here. Day 1 and heading out for the evening hunt, and the strategy for this hunt is to get up a little higher into the higher country where we're in the timber and the aspens, and we're going to try and locate a bull that we can either stalk tonight or put him to rest and put him to bed and see what we can come up with tomorrow on him. But definitely with it being unseasonably warm right now, we want to get up a little higher and see if we can't locate a bull. So we're going to head out. In the evenings, The elk moved down out of their bedding areas and toward the meadows below. Lance has us in position, but only a few smaller bulls are with the herd tonight. And as the sun fades and the bright full moon rises, I immediately begin to look forward to the following day. I had seen a lot of elk, and I knew I would see a lot more before it was over.
This segment is sponsored by Adventure Armory. Rifle, scope, and ammunition packages shipped, ready to shoot.
The next day, Lance and I worked the high country, glassing from ridges and hilltops to get a good look at the vast expanses of the ranch. We worked at it all day and only saw a few cows and calves. The warmer weather was killing us. We decided to move into some rimrock country that was surrounded by oak brush just above the lower meadows, hoping to spot some elk, and just before dark, the elk started to move out of the cover and toward the meadows where they would feed all night under the full moon.
Lance, there's elk. Across the other side, in that bigger opening, the grassy area, before you hit the timber. See, there's three patches. It's the one in the middle. They're filing left to right.
We spotted a smaller bull and then a 6-point bull, but it was just too dark and too far of a shot. The next morning, we tried to catch them before they reached the cover of their bedding area. And again, we were too late.
My path was marked, the rise and fade, and I walk lost in the summer days. Where'd I go, where'd I go, where'd I
But now we had seen the bull twice in the same place. And Lance had a plan to try and ambush him from a nearby knob that was only 100 yards from where the elk had been coming out each day.
I'm on my way. Somehow I'll find you someday. Oh, I'm on my way, and I can't give in.
The next day was more of the same. Warm, dry conditions, and even less daytime elk movement. There were an estimated 500 elk on the ranch, but with thousands of acres of cover, they stayed in the shade and fed all night under the cover of the moon. So on the last night of my hunt, we bet the farm on a spot where Steve had killed the Swayze bull a few years earlier, and we had seen some elk here a few days prior. Looking back on the hunt, I could have killed some smaller bulls, but I really wanted to get a 6-point. And I was determined to hold out. And sometimes that means you go home without an elk. But I toured the ranch, saw a lot of elk, and got to experience firsthand exactly what we offer our clients.
Well, Travis could have filled his tag just about any day of the hunt on a 5x5 bull, but he had decided to make it a goal to only shoot a 6-point, and I commend him for sticking to his guns and eating his tag. Because the goal of this trip wasn't necessarily to just kill an elk. It was for Travis to go on a road trip, visit our outfitters and guides, and learn about their operations, their lodges, their ranches, their guide staff, and be able to come back with all of that knowledge and be able to share that with our clientele and help them book the right hunting and fishing trips that fit their needs. In fact, if you'd like to book this Northwest Colorado mule deer hunt, or the Chama, New Mexico elk hunt, or any of our other hunting and fishing packages, give our office a call. We're always there to take your calls, answer your questions, and help you book the adventure of a lifetime. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's show. But please remember to join us again next week when we bring you another exciting episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures.